So, like the definition of sacrifice. So when I looked up, I wanted to look up the definition of sacrifice, and of course, not of course, but the first few definitions of the word sacrifice involved some religious aspect, slaughter of an animal for the gods, or present. You know what I'm saying? Several definitions, but several definitions down, then you get to the one that's kind of like more generic, uh, but it describes in a proper sense of kind of like what we're gonna get at today. So it says an act of giving up something valued for the sake of something else that's regarded more important or worthy. So you give up something of value for something else, either more important or more worthy of you know of that thing that you gave up, right? That's like the non-religious, meaning to the word sacrifice, right? That we could probably all understand. You give something up for something better, right? The story that would come to mind about proper sacrifices or no proper sacrifices is the story of Cain and Abel, right? In the Holy Bible story. As the story goes on and says that one of them made the proper sacrifices. He got up early and he tended to his fields. Saying he helped in the neighborhood, right? He did things that were good. So his offerings were good. It was the best of his first fruits, the best of his corn that he grew, or his apples and his livestock, right? He he sacrificed the best of his stuff, the best of what he had to offer, right? And then the other brother, it says that he didn't make good sacrifices, or he wasn't, you know basically the story is he didn't make the proper sacrifices, right? So when we look at that, it's like he didn't get up early to tend the fields. He didn't tend the fields regularly when they're supposed to be. If you're growing corn or wheat or livestock, there's certain things that have to be done. You have to make proper use of your time, right? So when he wasn't making the right sacrifices, and it says that God kind of looked down upon him, that's where the story gets a little confusing, because now we're imagining the entity, the man upstairs, the being looking down and saying, you know what, I don't like you. I don't like what you're doing. Or something like that, right? So I'm going to punish you, and people aren't going to like you or whatever. Okay, but let's just push that back a little bit, and let's just look at like kind of like what we we're saying earlier. Okay, so he doesn't tend his fields when he's supposed to, right? He's not tending to his livestock properly, right? And so things go bad. So when you don't do these things, then of course your harvest is not gonna work out. Your animals might get sick and die. You know what I'm saying? If you're not friendly or helpful in the neighborhood with the people around you or whatever, they're not gonna like you. That's like cause and effect. If you don't tend your fields, your harvest is gonna die. All your plants are gonna die. If you don't tend to your animals, your animals are gonna get sick and die, or stuff. Same with the family at home or business. When you don't tend to the proper things that you need to, in order for these things to work right, your fields, for your corn to grow good, for your animals to be healthy and reproduce and all these things, you have to make good decisions about how you're gonna your time, invest your time, right? Because you could be out there with the broads, and he was probably hanging around with the girls and messing around and whatever, and then so when the time came for the harvest, or for these things to happen, it didn't work out. And not only that, that upset him, because hey, you weren't doing your job. Now you're mad that your corn died. Now you're mad that your sheep got disease. Now you're angry. But the important part is you know this one brother do didn't make proper decisions about his time and his effort and what he did and how he did it. He was lazy, he was slothful, he was half-assing or whatever, right? So when we look at that and we say, okay, look, let's look in life. When you half-ass stuff, when you don't get it to work in time, when you don't, hitting the fields every day early and tending to the fields, if you don't work, if you don't get to work on time, if you know, all these things, they lead in a path to where then things go bad.